Hey, religion readers, I'm Dr. Myev Rees. I don't know what it's like where you live, but where I live in Los Angeles, it is hot and I don't have air conditioning. And so I have been thinking about hell. So I have some books about hell to share with you today because I figure if you have to sweat your butt off, you might as well do it with a good book. So the first book recommendation I have for you today is a novel. It's actually a trilogy by A.J. Sorry, I need my glasses because I'm apparently an old lady now. A.J. Hackwith, and that is The Library of the Unwritten, which is just, I mean, the title is just so cool. So The Library of the Unwritten is about the library in hell, and it follows Hell's librarian. And Hell's librarian has an assistant, and she gets an intern, and it has strong female protagonists in it. It has queer representation in it, if that's important to you. But even if it's not, this is a fantastic series that takes you on a kind of multicultural tour of the afterlife. So hell, obviously, is within the Christian tradition, but we also go to Valhalla in the Norse tradition and a few other places, and I don't want to ruin it for you. But it's a really, really fantastic book. It's a meditation on the stories we tell about our lives and how we imagine ourselves in those stories. So this is The Library of the Unwritten. The second one is The Archive of the Forgotten, which is also fantastic. And the last is The God of Lost Words. And this series really explores the idea of angels and demons and what they are and how we can imagine them in interesting and complicated ways. And it's just so much fun. So I highly recommend if you just want a fun summer read because it's hotter than Get Out and you just want to read about hell, this is definitely the series to go with. The second recommendation I have is actually nonfiction, and that is Bart Ehrman's Heaven and Hell. This is a book written for regular people, not academics, not scholars. So smart regular people can read it just like you. And it is an exploration of where the concept of hell and heaven came from. Now, you might assume, if you maybe don't study religion for a living, like, most people, that the concept of hell just is in the Bible. Debatable. There is really no place of eternal torment where your eyes are being poked out with sticks and a devil who is in charge of it and all of that. None of that is actually in the Bible. Certainly not in the Hebrew Bible. There is a reference to a place called Sheol, which in the Hebrew actually refers to the pit, which is the grave. Now, later Christian interpreters read that and thought of it as like a whole place that referred to the pit. But the Jewish interpretation, which is the interpretation the texts originally had because they were originally Jewish, that was that Sheol is just the grave. It's just where your body goes when you die. So obviously it's not somewhere you want to go because life is wonderful, but it is the pit. So beyond Sheol, there's really no reference until you get to Revelation in the New Testament, the last book of the New Testament, which is the Christian part of the Christian addition to the Christian scriptures. And there you have an eternal place of torment where a very scary and militant Jesus is sending people to be tortured for all eternity. The book of Revelation, as Ehrman points out, it was controversial at its time. Many early church fathers did not think that it should be in the Bible. They did not think it should be in the canon. It was something that they thought wasn't in line with the rest of the text, which arguably, I mean, I don't know. You can see how you feel about that. But Bart Ehrman is a fantastic scholar. He taught at the University of Carolina, Chapel Hill for years and years and years. Before that, he was at Princeton Theological Seminary. So he is a real smarty pants. He is a giant in biblical studies. He is an exceptional scholar. He is an exceptional communicator, which, as you may know, academics not always super great about talking to regular people. Not great writers for regular people either. But Bart Ehrman is one of those rare academics that really translates the academic work into language that regular people who have decided to spend their lives doing other, probably more profitable things than studying religion, can understand. And so if you're interested in how the idea of hell became part of Christian cosmology and how it became part of Christian doctrine, this is the book for you. The next book I have is not really about hell, but it is titled with hell in the title. And that is Rebecca Solnit's A Paradise Built in Hell. You might know Rebecca Solnit because she wrote a really exceptional essay that was published in a collection of essays called Men Explain Things to Me, which any woman can probably relate to that. Certainly any woman who works in academia. All I have to do is tell people at a cocktail party what I do for a living, and there will inevitably be some guy who wants to explain religion to me, despite the fact that, you know, he works in finance and I have a PhD in religious studies. So anyway, but Rebecca Solnit is famous, probably most famous for that essay, which is exceptional. But this book, A Paradise Built in Hell, is a series of case studies, I think would be the best way to describe it, of the worlds people build in the wake of disasters. So in the wake of tornadoes, after earthquakes, after tsunamis, the kinds of amazing ways people create community, hence Paradise Built in Hell. She really focused on the idea that when faced with an unprecedented tragedy, human beings do remarkable things, remarkably kind things, remarkably generous and giving and selfless things, to the point where you often wonder why we need horrible disasters in order to behave that way and why we act like jerks when everything's going so well. But it's an exceptional meditation on the nature of humanity, an exceptional meditation on the nature of how we relate to each other in disaster, and it's just a really lovely read. It's also great for like a beach read because it is a series of case studies, so you can just read one and then, you know, go swim in the pool for a day and, you know, read another and, you know, just go sit on the porch and drink some iced tea. So you don't have to read it all in one sitting. It's a really, really fantastic book by a really exceptional woman. The last book I want to talk about is probably predictable, but I want to encourage you to give it a shot anyway, and that is Dante's Inferno. I know, it's an epic poem, it's in Italian. You don't have to read it in Italian. I really like the Robert Pinsky translation, but there are other translations that other people like better, and I honestly feel like you should find the translation that speaks best to you. So this is, of course, part of Dante's Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is not that kind of comedy. So it's not a ha-ha comedy. The Divine Comedy is basically a tour of heaven and hell and all of the different realms. And the tour that Dante goes on covers both heaven, purgatory, and the Inferno, or hell. Now, this book is not the book you curl up with by the pool. Okay? It's a poem. It's a really long, epic poem, but it is beautiful. It's really not as threatening as people think it is. It is an incredible piece of Western literature, to the point where you probably know stuff that's in here just from references in the world without knowing that it's from Dante's Inferno. So I highly recommend you give it a shot. The worst thing that could happen is that you're confused and you put it down, right? So try. You're smart enough. I promise. You're definitely smart enough. So Dante's Inferno is a really exceptional piece of classic literature. And I think it's worth reading not only for itself and its own beauty, but like I said, because it is a touchstone in Western civilization. It is something that has been referred to, back to, for centuries. Even to the point where I think I was watching the Netflix Sabrina, the teenage witch, not the one from the 90s, but the new one that's kind of dark. And she has to go through the ninth circle of hell. And that's from Dante, right? There are so many pop culture references that come from Dante's work. It's worth reading the original source. So I hope that you are not in hell. I hope that you are in literary heaven, and I hope you have air conditioning. And that you are staying cool. And if you're not staying cool, at least you have some good books to read. All right, thanks. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm Dr. Myev Rees. Like, subscribe if you like these reading recommendations, and keep asking good questions.